Jonathan Allen is not happy with where he's at with the Washington Commanders. Could he demand a trade before the NFL trade deadline? I'm going to let you know what I think here in just a second. Then also, lots of people are saying it's time to bench Sam Howell for Jacoby Brissett. I'm going to tell you why it's way too early to be talking about that right now. And then also, should the Commanders trade Jahan Dotson before the trade deadline? I give you my thoughts on today's edition of the Commanders Report. But before we get into today's Commanders rumors, do me a favor, get things started on today's show by smashing that thumbs up icon and liking today's video. So let's jump right into this Jonathan Allen drama that's been going on here after his post-game interview in the locker room after the Week 7 loss versus the New York Giants. This is what Jonathan Allen had to say about his feelings about the Washington Commanders right now. You can see it. A lot of this is bleeped out. I'm effing tired of this S word. I am effing tired of this bull crap. It's been 7 effing years of the same you-know-what. I'm tired of this. You guys get the picture here. So plain simply, John is not happy right now, and I can't say I necessarily blame him right now. He's been here for such a long time. He was a first-round pick, and he's been a really good player for this franchise for years, and now he's getting close to the decade mark here, and it's been the same stuff in this organization, this mediocrity that has completely infested this organization since he's been drafted here. And, I think Josh Harris, the new owner, is going to be bringing, some more good stuff. We've already seen some good stuff from the new owner to this point. So maybe John just needs to be a little bit more patient. But some people think that Jonathan Allen could be demanding a trade out of the nation's capital here before the NFL trade deadline. And if that happens, let's see what that would look like here. So right now, his Pro Football Focus grade 68.6. That's good for 33rd among 122 NFL defensive tackles. He still has 2 years left after this year on his deal. And if you trade him, you would save a total of $31.5 million in cap space over the next 2 years, and you would take on $13 million in dead cap. So if you decide to trade Jonathan Allen, there's not really a silver lining necessarily, but if there is one, the bright side to this situation is that trading him away would open up enough cap space over the next couple of years so that you can keep both Montez Sweat and Chase Young on your roster, along with Daron Payne, who you paid this offseason. So maybe it wouldn't be the worst thing in the world if Jonathan Allen demands a trade, but man, John Allen, he's one of the most disruptive defensive tackles in the National Football League. It'd be interesting to see as well what the Commanders could get in a potential trade package for him. If I'm the Commanders, I'm not taking anything less than, a second-round pick and maybe even another mid-round pick there for Jonathan. He's still got multiple years on his contract. He's still very productive. I don't want to get rid of him, but if he ends up demanding a trade out of here, then you might be forced to take something here, and that would open up some space for Sweat and Young to come back. But this is definitely a tough situation. Let me know what you guys think down there in the comments section. Pick one of these gentlemen to trade if you had to. I've already asked you the Chase Young versus Montez Sweat question. Now let's add Jonathan Allen to this equation. If you had a choice between Jonathan Allen, Chase Young, or Montez Sweat, which guy are you trading at the NFL trade deadline? Type JA for Jonathan Allen, type CY for Chase Young, or MS for Montez Sweat. And this is going to be the pinned comment on today's show. So YouTube's going to throw you an ad break here in just a couple of seconds. When that happens, take advantage of that time by answering today's pinned question. So now let's talk about Sam Howell here. And I think it's time to settle down because there's a lot of Commanders fans, Commanders pundits out there that are saying that it's time to go to Jacoby Brissett, the backup quarterback, over Sam Howell. And Sam Howell and the experiment here with him has failed, and it is now over. And I couldn't disagree with this more. I mean, you look at these numbers here after 7 games. This is about league average right now, okay? And this is with arguably, the worst offensive line in football right now. 65.2 completion percentage. That's still pretty decent. 250 yards per game, 9 touchdowns to 7 interceptions. I think Howell has shown enough to this point in the season where you're still going to stick with him over Jacoby Brissett. Yes, he's holding on to the football a little bit too long, but he also has the worst offensive line in front of him in the National Football League here. There's no doubt about that. Sam is definitely somebody that's going to have to learn to get rid of the ball quicker. I think Eric Bieniemy is going to have to design game plans in order to get the ball out of his hands quicker. When Sam's getting rid of the football quickly, this offense does so much better. And this offensive line looks better because their quarterback isn't in the pocket holding the ball forever, right? So Howell definitely has some things that, he's definitely not a perfect quarterback. I'll put it that way. He's definitely not all the way there yet. But I definitely don't think it's time to say that he sucks, that he's not going to make it, and that you should completely give up on him at this point. I'm not willing to do that right now. I think you still got to ride with him. And I think by the end of the season, he still has a pretty darn good shot at solidifying himself as the franchise quarterback here in the nation's capital. Now, coming up here, I'm going to let you know what I think about the potential of trading Jahan Dotson before the NFL trade deadline. Definitely intriguing. Going to give you the pros and cons of a potential trade here in just a sec. But first, let's have a word from our sponsor at Prize Picks. And if you want to spice up your game days this NFL season, then Prize Picks is going to be perfect for you. Prize Picks is a skill-based, real money daily fantasy sports game. And you might be asking yourselves, how does this work? Here's how. You pick 2 to 6 players, and if they'll go for more or less than your Prize Picks projection, you can win up to 25 times your money on any entry. So let's take a look at my entries for tonight's Monday Night Football matchup between the Minnesota Vikings and the San Francisco 49ers. I'm going to go less on Kirk Cousins. Doesn't have Justin Jefferson. Brock Purdy, I really like that San Francisco offense. I'll go with the more on that. Then George Kittle, he's on my fantasy team. I need him to do well tonight, so let's give him the more on receiving yards tonight. You could get your picks in before Monday Night Football tonight, so check it out now at prizepicks.com/CLNS and use our code CLNS for a deposit match up to $100 today. At Prize Picks, you aren't competing against other people. It's just you versus the projections available instead of battling thousands of other players, including pros and sharks that are looking to take advantage of you. With Prize Picks, it takes less than 60 seconds to make your picks. So get started right away. Get them in before Monday Night Football. Go to prizepicks.com/CLNS and use our code CLNS for a first deposit match up to $100. That's code CLNS at prizepicks.com/CLNS for a deposit match up to $100 today. So the trade rumors are definitely red hot here. We're just over a week away from the trade deadline on October 31st, Halloween this year. And, Jahan Dotson, goodness gracious, it's the last 2 weeks he's had 2 killer drops against the Falcons. He could have had like a 40, 50-yard gain. He had wide open space to run, drops it right in the bucket, right? And then 4th and 2, then on 4th down yesterday in a crucial situation at the 2-yard line with the game on the line. It's not a perfect pass, but it's a catchable football, and he doesn't bring it in. And, some people, including myself, I said that on yesterday's reaction video live, or not live, just on yesterday's reaction video, that you got to consider trading this guy. And there's a couple reasons why that could potentially make sense. Number one, you get something for the guy while he's still valuable here. If you go a couple more years here and he's still stinking it up, nobody's going to give you what you could get for him now, which is probably a 2nd or 3rd round pick at this point. I say probably more 3rd round than 2nd round at this point. And then also Washington has the depth to lose one of their wide receivers right now. You still got Terry McLaurin, Curtis Samuel, De'Ami Brown, who has great chemistry with Sam Howell. I still like Brian Pringle and Mitchell Tinsley as backups right now. Jamison Crowder, he's been here for a while as well. He even got on the field as a receiver this past week. So you could definitely see the reasons why this would make sense, but there's also reasons why you might not want to trade Jahan Dotson. First of all, he's on his rookie contract, and that's really good for the Commanders, right? You're getting a really talented player on your roster for pretty much no money, and then if you trade him, you get pretty much no cap relief in terms of your overall cap space. So, that's not great in terms of the cap perspective there. But also, Dotson is still a very talented player. This wasn't an issue for his or of his at Penn State. It wasn't an issue of his in his first year in the league. In fact, he was making a lot of contested catches, some really impressive catches. Hopefully, if you're the Commanders, you're probably thinking, hopefully, Jahan Dotson figures things out here in the weeks to come, and he's going to be the productive guy that we all thought that we were getting when we drafted him a couple of seasons ago. Now, there is a trade idea that's floating around out there. The Chiefs, of course, are looking for a wide receiver. If the Chiefs called you and it was a 2nd-round pick for Jahan Dotson, are you taking that deal? I think I might have to take that deal. if I'm the Washington Commanders, especially if I want to go get a quarterback in next year's NFL draft. Would you accept this trade if you are Ron Rivera and the Commanders front office? Type A for accept or type D for decline. Can't wait to see how you're feeling about this potential trade idea here in Washington. And that'll be it for me today, Commanders fans. Thank you so much for all of your support. Remember, make sure to click that subscribe button right below this video because we're going to have you guys covered with all the latest Commanders trade rumors and then also news when it breaks. If the Commanders make a move, we're going to have you covered. So if you want to stay up to date with everything the Commanders are doing leading up to the trade deadline, click that subscribe button right now.